God fucking damn it. Yeah, I agree with all of those comments coming through, honestly. Yeah, that was heartbreaking, Lance. You're right, mate. Fuck me, how do we lose to a team that's missing all of their best smalls? What do? Well, we let them play with their talls. We let them dictate the game by kicking it long and letting them have it on their terms when we could have had it on our terms and played fast through the middle. But I'm sorry, but that last 10 minutes where the game was there to be won, and and right after Connolly did some amazing work in the back half to kick the ball out under pressure, to then have one of our best kicks fuck up two kicks, basically hand Port Adelaide the lead back, and then Butler does the same thing going inside 50. Sinclair does the same thing, clearing it out. When the game is on the line, you want it in the hands of most of those guys. They're our better kicks. And we turned it over time and time again. We couldn't kick straight in front of goal. Rowan Marshall, he was sensational, but geez, a couple of those set shots were shocking, and that was us all game. And to be fair, Port were the same. They had a lot of chances. Both teams could have had bigger leads than they had. We got it out to, I think, a 16-point lead. They got it out to a 20, and I thought we rallied really well late in the third quarter and early in the fourth, and we looked for most of the fourth to have more run. But we also had less brain cells. We didn't know what to do in the moment when we had the ball. Our best users of the footy didn't know how to use the footy, and in front of goal we shit the bed and didn't know how to put them to the sword. We got a point up, and I felt good. I felt like, okay, the game's back on our terms now. We're getting a lot of, waves ahead of the ball. We're getting plays ahead of the ball. We're getting chances. But some of the kicks inside 50, it's just dumb. We did some dumb things today that we haven't done in a month. And Port Adelaide they're a top 5 team for a reason. They are a good team, but they had a lot of players out. We made them fly here this morning to play them at Marvel. Crowd or not, we're back at Marvel. They had to travel. Maybe we're just shit at Marvel. But there was so much wrong with that game. Even if we had a won, the only good thing to come of it would have been obviously the win itself and winning 4 in a row, but to be in the 8. And now that Richmond have won, we've dropped this game. We've got West Coast next week, or whoever we've got. The fixture might change, but there was so much that could have changed this season, and we threw it out the window. And for some reason, you're just like, fuck, why am I surprised? I say this every time we have games like this. Last year, we did it against West Coast. We came into that game knowing if we won, top 8 was sewn up. They had a bunch of injuries. They basically had no midfield. It was Tim Kelly, and that was it. And funnily enough, Tim Kelly has his best game ever. Very similar in this game with Port. They have no small forwards. We knew that the risk in this game was they were going to play tall, and that was where they wanted to exploit us. And what do? We let them exploit us playing tall. Bring it to ground. We played dumb. It's just... And it was there for the taking. That's the most annoying part, is that we got ourselves into a position where top 8 was there and we had it, and then we go back into our shells, play some dumb football in the last 5 minutes, and then to rub it in, Charlie Dixon, who's done nothing for the whole game, kicks the sealer, Dougal Howard did a very good job on Charlie. Wilkie, it was a hard day. It was a hard day for him on Georgiades. He had a great game. He kicked 4 goals on him. But yeah, some of the kicks into their 50 favoured their forwards. It favoured them. They had the easy positioning. We did it the opposite. When King had, he was on the fat side and had a chance to take the mark, we'd kick it on the other side and it put it in the favour of Trent McKenzie, who had his best game for the year. And that was one matchup I actually thought we could exploit. But in the end, we couldn't exploit anything, We just didn't play the game we wanted to play it. They played, we've played a very contested brand the last month, and this game was the same, but it also suited Port because they were missing a lot of leg speed. Rosie, Butters, Gray, Dersma, Motlop, Fantasia. These are all of their smalls, all of their speed that they missed. And we praised guys like, I thought Long did okay, but we praised guys like Kent last week, and Kent was, missing in action today. McKenzie goes off early. Jones, I think, hurt his neck just before half time. Our kicking woes came back. Everything that could have gone wrong pretty much went wrong. The umpiring was questionable, but we got some favourable ones. They got some favourable ones. Lee Fisher's always shit when it comes to umpiring in a St Kilda game, because I feel like he needs to try and be more impartial than normal, and that means he probably favours the other team more than not. But the umpiring had nothing to do with our poor foot skills in the last 5-10 minutes. That was all us. We didn't have the killer instinct when we were up, and we forget we were up by 16 points early in the second quarter and looking pretty comfortable. And then we let them come back into the game. We invite pressure on ourselves. We stop taking the game on. It was only for maybe a 5-10 minute patch across the 4 quarters where we really tried to run them off their feet. Apart from that, it was very slow, very stagnant, bombing into packs. And when we know they're playing tall, why would we do that? Why would we kick it long down the line to a pack where they're going to have the taller players, And our talls weren't really bringing them to ground enough. McKenzie, Alir, Georgiades had a great game for them. Dixon, although didn't mark a lot of it, he brought it to ground and he competed and just had repeat efforts that turned the ball over. And there was a passage late, I think in the fourth, where it was on the wing, the far wing, towards the Port Adelaide forward line. All Dougal Howard needed to do was stay man-on-man with Dixon. He leaves Dixon to impact the contest. He doesn't impact the contest. The ball gets out, goes to Dixon, quick handball down the line. They kick it long into the forward line, and I can't remember the guy that marks it, but it was on Connolly, and you can't expect Connolly to be defending one out in the goal square late in the fourth term. So for that to happen in itself shows that the matchups were just not there for us. And again, like I said before, we played dumb. We really did. We shot ourselves in the foot. That's all this game. We should have won this game. And we dropped it. We dropped a game that we shouldn't have. And now, for us to make finals, we honestly can't lose, depending on results. But I'm sick of relying on results. Last weekend, every result really that could have gone our way went our way. And it put us into an even better position than just the win against Brisbane did. And now we've reversed that by stuffing it up against a team that's undermanned on our home deck. But we beat Brisbane away from home, and they've won 10 of their last 11, So this team is just cracks under pressure, and that's another thing. We're not good at winning when we're favourites. We were $1.84 this morning, and every other game we've won this round, this year, we've basically been underdogs. So for the focus to be on us, for the pressure to be on us to back up last week and to back up the last month of football, predictably, we go into our shells, we play dumb football, we stuff our kicks up, we miss shots in front of goal that we should kick with no crowd there. You can take your time, take a deep breath, kick straight. There's no noise around the ground to put you off, no extra eyeballs to put you under pressure. It should have felt like a training drill, but it didn't. We choked. We absolutely choked in this game. This should have been a win, should have been a comfortable win, and Port outworked us in the last quarter and a half. But we had it on our terms in the first 10, 15 of that fourth term, and then we absolutely botched it. Absolutely just gave it back to them. And luckily enough, when the siren went, they won. They weren't much better than us. They just didn't choke as hard as we did. That's how I see it, honestly. So I'm just sick of giving these reviews. It's been a good month. To be fair, I can't complain. It's been a month of not having to deal with these sort of feelings. But when it's such an important game and everyone's a bit more up and about. It felt a bit like 2020, in the lead up. It was like, this felt like a final. It felt like almost the GWS game, where it's like, oh, we could lose this, but I'm backing the boys to get the job done. And it was the exact opposite feeling. So I'm really, it's a hard one to take. It's this late in the season. We had minimal room to move. Margin for error was as small as it could have gotten even before this result. And now to drop it, it's basically we need to win every game for the rest of the year. Maybe 4 and only lose 1 more and hope results go our way, and then we might have a chance. But this game and the Adelaide game, I really feel like they're going to come back and really bite us in the arse come the end of the season. But if you're not winning games like today, you probably don't deserve to make finals. But we're good enough. That's the thing. We've shown it in the last 3 weeks we're good enough. But when the heat's on, like it was today, everyone watching from home, the whole country watching to see what St Kilda does to affect the top 8, and we don't do what everyone expects us to do. They win when the expectation is low, but when it's high, they don't know what they're doing, and that's the most upsetting thing. So I could go on all day about these feelings, but it's classic Saints feelings. You guys know exactly how I'm feeling right now. If you don't know how I'm feeling, you haven't watched enough Saints footy in the last 5-10 years, but I know you all have, and you all feel exactly the same way. So let's go through some of these comments and see what people are feeling. I was going to put the link in the comments to get people on to have a chat, but I don't know. I feel like that's just opening a can of worms right now. I might trial it further down the track, but right now I just wanted to get my feelings off, and let's get your feelings. And hopefully next week I can organise to get you guys on and have a chat. Let's go with this one. Chinquez says, trade Billings, Dunstan, Loney, Ross, and bring in some defensive players who can kick, delist Kent and a couple of others, and make a play for Ben King. I'm not sure if all of that is accurate. I don't think we are going to trade all of those players. I don't know why you say Dunstan. He had another pretty good game, I thought, for the day. Ross was Ross. He did some good things, did some bad things. Billings was a bit vanilla, and Kent was nowhere to be seen. So I don't know about delisting Kent. I don't know what his contract looks like, but I think half of this comment is true and half of it is probably a bit of a reaction to the result and a bit of emotions taking over. But you're not going to delist Billings, Dunstan, Loney and Ross all in one off-season unless you can get some good return and you can guarantee making a play for a big-name player, because you need depth at the same time as you need good starting 18-22. And right now, if Gresham's fit, if Hannabury's fit, Dunstan and Ross may not be in the team. So I think a lot of the current 18 and 22 is affected by injuries. But we've been able to manage that in the last 3 weeks, and today it just didn't work out for us. But I wouldn't trade all of them. There'd be a couple there that Cobbs would be looking at, and they'd have some value. But a couple of others I think we need to keep for depth and just for backup in case we have shitty injury situations like we've had this year. This one's from Stern Mender 24. Butler has to go. Ooh. What were his stats? I honestly, when Dixon kicked that last goal, I got up and was prepping for the live. I didn't watch the last minutes, so if they showed the stats, I missed it. I'm assuming the margin was 13 points, I think it was. But I was that upset. But yeah, Butler kicked his goal early. His kick inside 50 in the last quarter is the only thing I remember from this game. He had all the time in the world, and I don't know why this pissed me off so much, but Nick Rewalt blamed it on the forwards and the forwards not leading up. I'm sorry, Nick, but he had 50 metres of space. He had an easy handball to Brad Hill that would have run into an open goal, and he elects to bomb it to the favour of a Port Adelaide defender when there were so many other options. So it wasn't the forward's fault. Rui says some good things in the commentary box. That was not one. He had all the time in the world. He should have made a decision, and he didn't. I don't know what you mean by go. I assume you mean just drop him this week. There's no VFL, so it's hard to drop him and then bring in Loney, but maybe this was the last hurrah for Butler and Loney gets a gig. But I don't know. I feel like you're gonna drop Butler and get Loney, and Loney may have a risk of playing and not doing much anyway because he's done that for most of the year, and that's the reason why he's been dropped. So I don't know. Does it really make much of a difference? This one's from Ari. We didn't kick a single set shot goal. Some of those were non-negotiables. Yep. We kicked every one of our goals was basically a running play, wasn't it? Like there wasn't any sort of no set shot goals, as he said. So we kick even a couple of those set shot goals, and the result would have been different. You know, we kicked plenty of goals from open play. Rowe did his best out of the ruck and snapping a few, out of nowhere. But when he gets two shots directly in front of goal, he kicked it the same way, the same side every time, and that was the most frustrating thing. It was just, you knew where they were going to kick them. It was always going to go far right because the way Rope in particular holds the ball, it's not dead straight. He holds it on an angle, so he skews over it when he kicks it, and it skews to the right every single time. And he used to be a beautiful set shot, but lately you would not bet on him kicking a set shot goal. And that's like a lot of our team. You just wouldn't back him. Pete says, our small forwards are never at the fall of the ball in our front half. Tiprat would eat those for breakfast. Good call. Dean Kent, Butler. I think we missed Higgins today. Higgins leads up with the ball. He gives us options. He's a good rover, but he plays like a medium-sized forward as well. But that's a good call. There's so much that comes to ground. And that's where we were looking. That's where I thought we'd look to exploit Port. That's where we should have gotten them. But instead, they rebounded way too easily. Trent McKenzie, Alir, these sort of guys, they just rebounded with ease. And you would have thought with them being tall, us being small, we would have been faster with the ball at ground level. And at times, Alir just basically put the ball under his shoulder and ran through 3 or 4 players that were quick enough to catch him. And they just didn't. And that's been the strength of ours the last 3 weeks. Our forward line pressure has been relentless. And although Butler hasn't kicked goals, he's been, number one in tackles inside 50 for us and pressure acts. And tonight, no one was doing it. No one was willing to just do the percentages. They wanted to be the heroes and get us into finals, but they were forgetting the shepherds and the tap-ons and the tackles. That's what gets you into a position to win a game. And no one was willing to do it today. This one's from Grizzly. There was a lot of ebb and flows in the game. The game was up for grabs for both teams. Captain Jack was in all-Australian mode. Jack Steele, I don't know what his stats were at the end, but it felt like he was just doing what he does every week. And Brad Crouch, I think, had 35 disposals, but I question how many of them were damaging. A lot of them were very slow, where he got it. He had the first clear handball, and every other week, or at least the last 3 weeks, we've gone with instinct. We've played quick. Even if it's the wrong decision, we're just backing our instinct and we're playing fast. Today, him and this is going to be probably a controversial call, but Tim Membry, when there are players on and he gets a mark 60 metres out, put your hand up if you've realised that he takes a good 5-10 seconds to look around and pick up on who to kick to. And by that point, the defence gets back, everyone's manned up, and then it's just a long kick on top of King's head that does absolutely nothing. And it's either marked by them or it's a turnover or it goes out of bounds and the play is dead. I feel like Skunk is such a good player, and I'm wearing his jumper. These will come out soon, but a little plug there. But, he's such an important player for us, but I just wish he played quicker when he got that ball, because he gets a lot of those marks when we quickly turn it over and players are running forward. But he's so reluctant to just not play on and not go on his instincts that he just slows the game down a little bit. And that was us all day today. There were times where we could have gone fast and exploited Port Adelaide on the break, and we slowed it down or made a skill error, didn't hit the target, and it just killed all sort of momentum for us. I wouldn't even call this a hobby anymore, mate. It's probably an obligation now, and I do love doing it. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I help a lot of other Sainers manage through these losses, and when we win, it's even better because we get to share it all together and get to enjoy the reward of Saints footy being, good Saints footy. At least today was the bad kind of Saints footy, but I wouldn't say I'm wasting my time, and I also wouldn't call it a hobby. This is more than that. It's passion. Hopefully it turns into a career one day, But yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's just shit that I have to have these sort of reviews and we go through all these comments of people that are really upset. But rightly so. We should have won this game and we didn't. Of course we can, but we've just made it that much harder for ourselves. And, it'd just be good to have 1 year where it's not hard to make finals. Just cruise to it. Geelong are doing it. Brisbane probably made it already, even though they've lost the last two. The Bulldogs in Melbourne, pretty comfortable, although they've probably fought for the last couple of years to build form to get to where they are now. But last year we had to fight until the last round. This year we're probably going to have to do the same thing. So let's see if we've got it in us to do it 2 years in a row. Another one on Butler. Butler has to be dropped. He's so disappointing and not the player I thought he'd be. Is Loney the perfect replacement? If you're going to drop Butler, are you going to bring in Loney? And if Loney has a bad game, then what do? Do you drop Loney and then bring in Butler? And if Butler has a bad game, you drop him and bring him in? One of the two have to find form somewhere. Loney has always had big games in the VFL. He rarely has two good games in the AFL, and that's why he's dropped so often. Butler, apart from the first 12 games last year, he's probably gone missing, but he's still... The last month he's tackled, he's chased, he hasn't kicked goals, but he's been around the mark, and you kind of expected him to have a big game. I thought him kicking the first goal, the second goal today, just kind of... I had some hopes that this would be the game where he turns his form, but for the rest of the day, it wasn't. And you could drop him, but there's no guarantee that's going to change anyone's form, him or Loney. Yeah, maybe that's the emotion getting to me. I don't know, Graham, but I thought that, I don't know, at times we just could have done things differently. But yes, it was a high-pressure game. Are they really a level above with the amount of players that got missing, though? Melbourne took them to the cleaners. Melbourne are obviously a level above this season as well, but on our home deck, with the amount of importance on this game and the form that we had after last week, you would also say Brisbane were a level above the last 10 weeks, but we still put them to the sword. We could have done the same today, and we didn't. So I'm not going to go and say Port Adelaide are a level above, but they played harder for longer, and they probably didn't make that many kicking errors in the last 5 minutes that we did that really cost us the game. Sinclair, Brad Hill, and Butler, there were 4 instances where we turned the ball over in a position to really counter and score from, and they go the other way and score and basically seal the game from it. So maybe not dumb football, clumsy football. I'll correct you there. Clumsy football. I don't... Saints are kind of like Maya. You go shopping there, but it's always shit. You go shopping at Maya, mate, it's lockdown, so I wouldn't be going shopping anytime soon. But yeah, you love them and you hate them at the same time, and that's all. That's going to be the relationship for our lives, really. It's not going to change. We're going to have moments like this, and we're going to have moments like last week. And we've had that last year. We had the year before. We've had that. I've had that the whole time I've followed Saints. So it's not going to change, unfortunately. Yeah, not a bad call, Taylor. Exposed at the back. We need another tall backman. Wilkie and Highmore get mopped up as undersized defenders. Yep, we were exposed here. Joyce or even a Frawley, and we got Frawley for a reason. I mean, is he fit? Is Frawley fit? I thought maybe he was going to play VFL. I think he played VFL last week with Hanbury. Obviously, this week it was there was a bye round because of the lockdown. Could we have used maybe a Darragh Joyce just to take Georgiades, and that means that Wilkie and Highmore can play the intercepting roles? But instead, Wilkie couldn't afford to do that because his opponent was too good and too important to Port, and he couldn't run off him. And conversely, that just meant Highmore, he was caught out in between in no man's land as well. He couldn't really do what he did last week. Because last week we handled Danaher, and McStay just wasn't a worry for us. And Hipwood going down really helped us. So you question, if Hipwood doesn't go down last week, is the result the way it is? But Port Adelaide, credit to them, they played tall. They knew that was a weakness, and they knew that was a way to beat us. And We didn't have the opposite. On the flip side, did we know that speed and getting the ball to the ground was the way to beat them? Because it looked like we hoped it would just happen, but it wasn't really a focus in our minds that that's the way we can beat this team. That's the way we're going to play. It just didn't. Whereas Port, it was obvious. They were thinking we're tall, they're not. That's the way we can beat them. So we're kicking it long and we're exposing their mid-sized defenders. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what got them the win. Apart from our mistakes towards the end, their talls manhandled our defence, and they got 4 goals from Georgiades. They got 1 from, I think, Dixon. So that's 5 goals there from their talls, and we probably didn't get anywhere near that on our talls. I think we got 1 from King and 2 from Ryder, and 1 from and 2 from Marshall and 1 from Ryder. So there's 4 there. I don't think Membrew troubled the scoreboard either. So yeah. Yeah, that's a big positive, Ari. Connolly. He did not look phased at all. I thought Burns got his hands to it, did some nice things as well. But Connolly, that passage of play in the last quarter, where he's under pressure back to goal, he's facing the goal, back to the Port Adelaide attacker, and he turns him. And not only does he turn him, he goes on his non-preferred across the 50 in the last quarter with the game on the line and hits the player perfectly. And on top of that, that kick to Rowan Marshall on his right foot, on his opposite side from the left that he kicked on, that was just a dead-eye low dart. Rowe could not do anything but mark that ball. We've got a special one in Connolly, that's for sure. It's just a shame that other players that you expect to have that sort of composure and finesse with their kicking didn't have it in the last quarter and turned it over, and that really hurt us. But really good signs for Connolly and Burns, and even Bytel. When Bytel came on, he had some good, nice left foot kicks, and that's his non-preferred as well, that were very clean, very calm under pressure, and he just didn't waste a possession. As hard as it was seeing Mackenzie get hit and taken off, it was good to see Bytel come on and have a bit of an impact and get some confidence in his game. This one's from Tyrone. Ross was solid. People jump on him all the time. He's had a good run this season. Yeah, he wasn't our worst. He wasn't our best, but he was not the scapegoat this week. There's no real scapegoat this week. Butler seems to be one that everyone's talking about. But I think just as a whole, we just didn't have that structure and intensity with the ball that we've had the last couple of weeks, where we drive forward, we run, we hunt for the ball and hunt for the goals. We didn't have that hunger, and it was just kind of all just going through the motions a little bit from my end. There wasn't that breakneck speed that we showed last week that really troubled Brisbane. We didn't show that against Port today. Yeah, that's what the commentator said, Rusty. Tried to play perfect football, and it cost them. We tried to be too picky with our kicks, tried to have too much finesse on the ball. Whereas last week, we were good around the ground, but we didn't mind if the ball was a metre in front of our player. As long as it kind of got there quickly and they could run onto it, that's all that mattered. Today, we really tried to hit the target, and with the amount of pressure that was on the ball from Port and how confident that they were behind the ball, that maybe forced us to play perfect football, and we didn't back our players just to go long or kick to a contest that was one-on-one. We really tried to avoid that at all costs, and maybe that was because they played tall and they were getting a lot of rebound footy from the intercept possessions. But we just didn't. We lost confidence with the ball as the game got on, a little bit, and that's been one of our strengths. So for Port Adelaide to either do something to take that away from us or to put us into a mental state where we weren't willing to go for those low percentage but high return sort of kicks is a credit to them. Yeah, Marshall was fantastic. I think he had, 15, 16 disposals, a number of hitouts, 2 goals, kept us in it late in the game. He had a couple of chances that really could have iced it with his set shots, and that wasn't to be, but he looked very good forward. His marking was at its best, and that was his best game since he's been back. He's been growing into the game since his return from injury, since the bye. But this was his best game since being back, absolutely. But yeah, maybe on the flip side, Paddy Ryder probably didn't have his best game. He kicked a goal, but I thought Lysett threw him around in the ruck contest a bit too much. This one's from Kale. Game on the line, can't hit a target, can't make a set shot. Surely we go and work on goal kicking sometime. Seems like we haven't addressed that issue for a good 5+ years. Port had the same though, mate. It wasn't just us. Port just took their chances when they counted at the end, and we didn't. But early on, we were, I think, 3-8 or 3-9. They were 4-9. They were it wasn't like they kicked straight and we didn't. That wasn't the difference in the game. The difference in the game was around the ground. That's what really killed us in the last 5 minutes. It would have been nice to kick straight, but Port fans probably could have said the same thing. They were 20 up and they had missed a lot. So their margin could have been even more than 20 if they had a kick straight. This one's from Jason. We had our chances. It was a defensive game early. It was tight. We had our chances. Dumb footy cost us in the end. We got to back it up in Perth. We absolutely do. That game was big enough on its own next week. Now it's even bigger. We travel to Perth. Hopefully Adelaide do us a solid and beat West Coast. And we need to hope that somehow North beat Essendon. So we're going to rely heavily on results going our way this round. If they don't, it hurts us, but we need to just keep winning. And today was a good chance to do that, and we didn't. But it was clumsy football. We had our chances and we didn't take them. I guess that's the only positive from this game was that we were in it and we weren't at our best. But Port probably weren't at their best, and they were missing some big players, particularly their small forward with their speed around the ball there, and that would have hurt us even more if they were playing. But yeah, just a missed opportunity. I don't even know what that means, mate, but I can tell you she's very supportive of this. And yeah, we'll probably have a nice glass of red wine, cook a nice dinner and relax and just have a weekend the next couple of days away from footy. That result was shocking, but I'm not sure, why that would be a comment you thought was important. She's a saner as well. She was very angsty in the last 5-10 minutes, like me. She cares as much as I do. So if anything, we both need to go out and just have a nice dinner together just to get our minds off the game. But yeah, not sure if that comment really is relevant. This one's from Tim on YouTube as well, so thanks to all the YouTubers watching. Honestly, mate, I think there are really good signs to take from this game. I understand the frustration, but we stuck it to a top 4 team. Would have preferred the win, but I believe in the boys. Yeah, but I just can't look past the amount of players they had missing. Yes, we had players missing, but they had players missing in probably the most important part on the ground. And we knew that the only way they were going to beat us going to this game was their tools. That was it. It wasn't going to be by speed. It wasn't going to be by smalls. It was by just kicking long and marking. And that's what they did. And that's why I thought it was just dumb and just clumsy. The coaches could have done something. Why didn't we rest Membry behind the ball when we got a point up and with 10 minutes to go? Why didn't we do that? They just kept going long. They kept isolating their tools, and it took its toll, and it got them the win in the end. And in recent games, we've seen Membry go back, and tonight we didn't. I don't know why they didn't elect to do that this week. Yeah, Tyrone. Yeah, that's a good comment, mate. The forward line didn't have any flow to it tonight. Even when we kick goals, even late in the third term, Webster kicks the goal. That was just from a handball receive and a kick from 50. And then even the Membry goal, the Max King goal late in the third, that was, that wasn't us doing anything special. Butler handball that probably wasn't a handball. And then, King, luckily gets the foot on the ball in the goal square and it dribbles over for the goal. But there was no continuity in the forward line. There were no leads apart from the Marshall one late in the fourth. There wasn't really any flow to the game, was there? It wasn't just our forward line. It was across the ground. The game was, it probably broke the record this year for the amount of ball ups, the amount of stoppages, because that's what it felt like. It was just, ball up, player, tackle, stoppage, ball up, player, tackle, stoppage. That was it. And no team really got any flow to it. It was just which team kind of held its nerve when the ball eventually got into the forward line. And with our smalls not kicking goals and our talls not really marking the ball, it was always going to be just a bit of an uphill battle for us to win the game. Even when we got in front, it just kind of felt, I don't know, like I wasn't sold on the way we were playing just yet. Yeah, do like some positivity in the reviews, particularly after a disappointing loss. Connolly does have some serious moves, so he's only going to get better. That's game 4 for Connolly. So, and then another one there from Jen. Yeah, Connolly's going to be a big player for us. Ryan Burns is getting more confident, and Bytel, like I said, there's 3 there that played today that have played under 15 or 16 games. So we're in good hands when it comes to the 3, with some youth coming through. And we haven't seen a couple in Sharman, Max Heath as well, who's doing some good things for, I think, the Dragons he plays for. So, we're in good hands when it comes to the youth. It'd be good to draft a bit more and kind of offload a few of the older boys that aren't really doing much for us. But I think it's undersold, how well some of these youngsters are going for us. If we were a top 4 team, people would be going off at what Connolly did in that last quarter with some of his skills. But because we're outside the 8 and we lost, it'll go unnoticed. 3 of 5, you reckon? I reckon 4 or 5, because I'm tipping that Essendon will win a couple, although they've got a couple of tough games coming up after this week, and Freo have got a tough draw, and I think they've lost Darcy. Richmond have lost Dusty for the year. So the big threat for us is probably West Coast winning enough games and us choking a bit more. But if we don't choke like we did today and get 3 or 4 of the next 5, that might just be enough. The results last weekend may help us because of the game we lost today, but I just wanted us to get the win so we'd go into the 8, finish the round in the 8 and be done with it. But of course, we've got to make it harder for ourselves. So classic Saints footy. This one's from Rowan. Really didn't think it was our worst performance. Costly choices, yeah, I agree, but I've been more disappointed in games lost in the past. Positives, Connolly is going to be a gun. So impressed by him. Would even go as far as to say my future favourite player behind our man of steel. Oh, it's a big call. A game we shouldn't have lost, but I've seen worse losses. I guess it's just more, not the loss itself, not the way we played, but I think it's more the magnitude of the loss. It's what it represents and what the win would have been in turn. It would have been a top 8 berth for us for the first time really this year. And perfect timing to get into the 8, but it wasn't to be. And I think that's probably why a lot of the saying along with myself, are just really upset. It's because of what it meant, not the performance itself. I'm upset because I think we could have played better. But yeah, I'll put my hand up and say we've played worse. Just look back at the Adelaide second half and all the thumpings that we've had. But it's just more what the result means. If you play well in a grand final all day, but you lose by a point, you're going to be disappointed. That's kind of what I mean. It's what the result means for the rest of the year. But I hope our players don't take it as if the season's over, because it's not. So we need to get on now. We fly to Perth tonight, a week quarantine, and then we play West Coast, who have been in pretty average form, probably the worst form of any team in the competition in the last 4 weeks. This one's from Ian. Poor kicking let us down at the end of the game when we were starting to get on top. Yeah, and that's a coach killer. That's a momentum killer. When you're on top and there's an easy pass and you miss a couple and it turns over and they get an easy goal when they really don't deserve it, that just hurts you. And that kills all momentum. That's exactly what it did in the last 5 minutes. Yeah. Spot on, Mark. The big threat is ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. That's proven this year. We are our best. Our biggest strength is, just when we're on, we are very good. We are a very dangerous team when we play Saints footy at our strengths. But when we struggle like today, yeah, we are our biggest threat. It wasn't Port today. It was every week. It's what St Kilda is going to turn up. That is the question. And tonight, half of the game, St Kilda turned up and played some decent footy around the ground, not in front of goal, but around the ground. Our pressure was good and our intensity was high, but half the game was also just clumsy football, bad foot skills, silly mistakes, not stopping the Port strengths, which was their height, And then obviously bad kicking in front of goal, and that's bad football in anyone's book. So yeah, it was just a hard game to take, and yeah, our own worst enemy right now. Adrian says, outside of Steele, consistent performance is lacking. Yeah, I think out of Steele, maybe Dougal Howard. Who else could you name? Sinclair, although I thought he was down a little bit, and obviously he was one that made a bit of a mistake in the last quarter. There were a few players that have been big in the last 3 weeks that struggled today, and that affected us. The forward line was great last week and just didn't click. The back line has been our strength, and again, I mean, we only conceded, 10 or 11 goals, which is still quite low, and we kept them to 1 goal in the first quarter, but we just couldn't capitalise when we were on top, and that was it. It wasn't that Port Adelaide kicked a big score and we couldn't keep up with them. It was just we couldn't kick a score that put them under scoreboard pressure. They got 20 up. It forced our hand and we had to play fast. But the second we hit the front, we went into our shells again, and kind of shut up shop and made some silly mistakes. They kicked 2 late goals that they didn't deserve, and they win the game, and they got away with one. And that's happened too many times to us. Sydney got away with one late. Geelong got away with one this year. So our latter position could have been a lot better, but bad kicking in all of those games, plus a few more, and it's put us in a position where we are now. And if we miss finals, we'll go back to those games and think we deserve to be in that position. So we get what we deserve at the moment. This one's from Adrian. I think this. We'll go with 1 or 2 more, and then I'll wrap it up. But thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I know it's a shitty review, and I hate doing these ones, but yeah, we do the good ones. We've got to do the bad ones. This one's from Adam. Sorry, not Adrian. I think Saints need to look at themselves and ask if they really want it. We can't put pressure only a half a game. It needs to be 4 quarters efforts, not at least 3 quarters. Yeah, but at the same time, you could say that we've basically played a full game against Richmond, 3 quarters against Port, against Collingwood, 4 quarters against the Lions, and probably 2.5, maybe 3 against Port. That's 4, 8, 12. That's 16 quarters. We've probably played 12.5 to 13 really good quarters and dropped off for 3. So overall, in the last month, our form in-game hasn't been bad. We put Richmond to the sword. We put Collingwood to the sword and kind of fell away in the last. We put Brisbane to the sword and played a full game and really deserved that win. And we were up and down all day today. We got up, we got down, we came back, and we went down. And that was the game in itself. Port had their moments, we had our moments. It was just who was going to be cleaner when it counted. And both teams probably weren't clean. It's just that they had the last couple of shots at goal that got them the 13-point win. And it could really have gone our way, but it just wasn't to be. And that was the game for me. It was just an unlucky, clumsy, tough game of footy. And both teams deserved to lose it, but at the same time, both teams had opportunities to win it. And unfortunately, we didn't take our opportunities when they were in front of us to take. I might leave it there, guys. It was just one of those games. I need to learn to not take them as badly as that, but it was just more. I was looking at the ladder predictor. We hit the front, we go 7th, but then immediately they kick a goal, and we go back to 10th, 11th, and it's just kind of the emotions. Every goal was just the emotions were going up and down with the scoreboard. So this game was an emotional roller coaster, and I dare say the rest of the season is going to be an emotional roller coaster because every game is important for our chances now. Sorry, guys, don't know it cut out there, but I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I think the tech's taken a bit of a hit with all the people tuning in from YouTube and Facebook, but I appreciate it, guys. Stay tuned for the podcast. It'll be out on Tuesday night. I know for a fact Marshy and Joyce are absolutely pissed, so it's going to be a bit of a hated podcast, so stay tuned for that. This will be up on YouTube as well. Post the live, so you'll be able to watch it there, and Facebook, and we're on Instagram as well at Saints TV Official. So please follow on all those accounts. Stay tuned for all the content that will be coming through Unfortunately, it's not going to be the most positive content because of the result, but the season's not done. So that's the one thing I can stress. It's going to be hard from here, but we did it the hard way last year. So hopefully the boys can go to Perth and really make us proud and get a win on the road. So until then, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday nights. Don't focus on the result too much because it's just going to make you feel shit. I'm going to try and do my best to do that as well. The season is still alive. We're only, so far, I think, percentage out of the 8. Hopefully results go our way. But yeah, focus on just enjoying time with the family and friends for the rest of the weekend. And you'll see me back Thursday night for the preview for the West Coast game that will be Saturday night next week. But if anything changes, Saints TV will report it and we'll let you know. But yeah, like I said, have a great weekend, guys. And although probably not the right time to say it, I'll end it on this. Go you mighty Saints. Thanks, guys. See ya.